There is a moment every man remembers, a moment when something inside him whispers, something is wrong. Most ignore it. They bury it under chemistry, lust, loneliness, hope, or the fantasy of who they wish he could be. They silence that instinct until the cost becomes irreversible. This video exists for one reason: to prevent that moment from becoming your downfall. Because a woman doesn't ruin your life in one clean blow. She drains your peace first, quietly, slowly, softly, like a candle dying from the inside while the flame still looks steady from the outside. Men don't fall because of chaos. Men fall because they misread the signs. The modern world has taught you to question your intuition, to doubt your perception, to ignore the discomfort in your chest. You've been told to communicate more, try harder, be more understanding, as if empathy could cure a hurricane or logic could negotiate with a storm. But the truth no one will say out loud, is that some women carry a pattern inside them that will dismantle your sanity long before they touch your reputation, your money, or your future. And if you don't know the signals, you will pay for them with your mental health, your self-respect, and sometimes your freedom. This isn't about hating women. It's about protecting men who were never given a guidebook, never taught boundaries, never shown how to recognize danger wrapped in beauty, charm, or emotional softness. Your peace isn't built by what you add to your life. Your peace is built by what you refuse to let in. And that's why today we're diving into the 8 signs, psychological, behavioral, and brutally practical, that reveal when a woman will ruin your peace long before she ruins your entire life. If you've lived long enough, you already know this. Women don't destroy men with violence. They destroy them with inconsistency, emotional contradiction, abandonment disguised as affection, seduction weaponized as leverage, and chaos that pretends to be connection. You think you're strong because you can handle stress, bills, deadlines, physical pain. But no man is strong enough to survive chronic instability inside his home. It breaks you quietly, invisibly, and the more patient and loyal you are, the faster it consumes you. So here's the truth you've always felt but never said out loud. Your peace is your backbone. If that collapses, everything else collapses with it. In the next sections, you'll finally learn the patterns that matter, the ones men realize only after the damage is done. This isn't theory. It's the lived experience of millions of men who rebuilt themselves from ashes and now see clearly what they ignored in the beginning. And once you learn these signs, you will never unsee them again. You'll walk differently, choose differently, and most importantly, you'll never let anyone walk into your life with enough access to destroy you from the inside. Let's begin. Every man has met her at least once. She arrives like a storm disguised as summertime warmth. She talks fast, feels deeply, laughs loudly, cries suddenly, and reacts intensely to everything, even to things that shouldn't matter. And at first, you mistake all of this for passion, because passion feels alive. Passion feels intoxicating. Passion makes you forget the silence you lived in before she appeared. But what you're actually experiencing isn't passion. It's emotional chaos in a beautiful dress. And chaos is always seductive in the beginning. She tells you stories about her past that sound tragic but heroic. She's always the victim, always misunderstood, always betrayed by others, exes, friends, family, co-workers. Everyone has wronged her, and she has never been at fault. Each chapter of her life is a battlefield where she insists she fought alone. You listen, you empathize, you feel chosen. She looks at you like you're the one man who finally understands her. That's how chaos hooks you, through your desire to be trusted, needed, admired. But here's the truth most men learn too late. You cannot love a woman out of her storms. Her emotional volatility didn't begin with you, And it won't end because of you. The instability that feels thrilling in the beginning becomes corrosive later. It starts small. She shuts down during disagreements. She pulls away when you don't respond exactly how she expects. She creates drama to feel desired, silence to feel in control, arguments to test your loyalty, tears to anchor your guilt. You begin adjusting yourself, your tone, your habits, your opinions, just to avoid triggering another explosion. You start measuring your words like a man walking barefoot on glass. You think you're being careful, thoughtful, protective, but you're not protecting her. You're protecting your peace, which she's already feeding on. This is the signal that destroys men quietly, because emotional chaos is addictive. It gives you highs you didn't know you missed. And as every addict knows, highs come with consequences, usually at the exact moment you think you're safe. Her instability will not stay contained to her moods. It will spill into your days, your nights, your work, your friendships, your identity. Men don't lose themselves because of bad women. They lose themselves because they anchor their peace to someone who has none. The painful part, she doesn't do it intentionally. She genuinely believes she loves deeply. She thinks her intensity is connection. Her unpredictability is vulnerability. Her emotional swings are signs of authenticity. But connection isn't chaos. Vulnerability isn't volatility. Authenticity isn't instability. And once you realize this, something inside you shifts forever. You understand why your chest tightened around her. You understand why you felt both alive and depleted. You understand why loving her felt like trying to stay warm next to a fire that keeps burning your hands. This is the first sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. Her emotions control the room, and you start shrinking to survive inside it. There's a particular kind of woman who never gives you enough to feel secure, but never withdraws enough for you to walk away. She lives in the in-between, the emotional purgatory where men lose years della loro vita. You don't notice it at first, because she knows how to mimic connection. She gives you tenderness just when you're about to lose patience. She gives you attention just when you are ready to give up. She gives you softness in the exact second your mind begins to drift toward doubt. It feels intentional, calculated, but it's not strategy. It's instinct. It's survival. It's the only way she knows how to bond. This is the woman whose affection has an on-off switch. Warm today, cold tomorrow, present this week, distant the next. One moment you're the man she claims she never thought she could find. The next, she acts like she barely remembers why she's with you at all. A healthy man thinks, maybe she's stressed. A wounded man thinks, maybe it's my fault. A hopeful man thinks, maybe she just needs patience. But here's the reality no one admits. Intermittent affection is not immaturity. It's emotional manipulation born from unresolved wounds. Not always conscious, but always destructive. Because her inconsistency has a purpose. It keeps you chasing. And men don't chase because they are weak. Men chase because we are wired to finish what feels incomplete. The masculine mind hates loose ends, hates unanswered questions, hates things that almost make sense. Women like her know this without knowing they know, so they keep you on a psychological drip feed, enough warmth to keep your soul from freezing, enough distance to keep your mind unstable. She disappears when you need her the most, and reappears when you've almost regained your balance. She pulls away when you get too close, and pulls you in when you start pulling back. It's a rhythm designed to exhaust your intuition until you stop trusting yourself. This is where the damage begins. Not in the fights, not in the doubts, not in the miscommunications. The real damage begins when you start adjusting your emotional thermostat to match hers. You wait for her messages, you analyze her silences, you feel the day shift based on her mood. Your nervous system becomes synchronized with her unpredictability. And the worst part, you mistake this intensity for love. But love shouldn't feel like withdrawal symptoms. It shouldn't feel like working a night shift inside your own heart. It shouldn't feel like trying to read a map that keeps rewriting itself. When a woman's affection is intermittent, your peace becomes conditional. You learn to breathe only when she allows it. You learn to relax only when she's stable. You learn to feel worthy only when she validates you. This is how men lose themselves without realizing it. Not because she leaves, but because she teaches him to abandon himself first. And when a man abandons himself, he is already ruined long before his life follows. This is the second sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. She gives you just enough love to keep you hopeful and just enough distance to keep you broken. You can tell a lot about a woman by the way she talks about the people she used to love. Exes, friends, family. The echoes of her past are the blueprint of your future. Men overlook this because desire blinds, loneliness distorts, e la fantasia cancella le ombre. But her past is a living organism. If she hasn't dealt with it, it will deal with you. There is a type of woman who carries an entire cemetery of unresolved stories inside her. Not just heartbreak, chaos, not just mistakes, patterns, not just ex-lovers, unfinished wars. And she brings all of it into your life dressed as vulnerability. She tells you about the men who didn't deserve her, the ones who couldn't handle her depth, the ones who betrayed her trust. You nod, you empathize, you tell yourself she was unlucky, you tell yourself you're different, you tell yourself you're strong enough to handle her wounds with patience, warmth, and understanding. But here's the fatal truth. If every man from her past is a villain, sooner or later you will be cast in the same role. A woman who has never confronted her part in her own history cannot build a healthy future. Her emotional debts will be paid by the next man who loves her. Always. You'll notice tiny fractures early on. Her reactions are too strong for small triggers. Her insecurity appears at random. Her trust rises fast but collapses faster. She sees patterns in you that belong to someone else. She treats you like the ghost of a man you've never met. This is called projection, but to a man it feels like suffocation. You start apologizing for things you never did. You begin defending yourself from accusations that don't belong to your story. You spend energy trying to prove that you're safe, loyal, stable, not because she doubts you, but because she doubts herself. Her past trauma becomes your current prison. She will test you without realizing she's testing you. She will distrust you even when you are consistent. She will read betrayal in your silence, abandonment in your schedule, rejection in your boundaries. You think you're helping. You think you're healing her. You think your love can rewrite a script. But a man cannot fix a woman who refuses to face her own reflection. And the darker truth is this: some women don't want their past to be resolved. The chaos has become their identity. The pain has become their personality. The drama has become their comfort zone. To heal means to abandon who they've been. And not everyone is brave enough to let go of the story that justifies their behavior. So you become the emotional shock absorber. You get the blame meant for others. You inherit the consequences of wounds you didn't create. And you drown under expectations that no man could ever meet. When a woman hasn't closed the doors behind her, she doesn't walk into your life. She drags an entire history with her. And sooner or later, that history becomes your burden, your exhaustion, your undoing. This is the third sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. Her past isn't in the past. It's sitting between you and your future. There's a kind of woman whose self-worth is not rooted inside herself, but scattered across the world like breadcrumbs she never stops chasing. She doesn't know who she is unless someone out there reflects her back to herself through attention, praise, admiration, desire, or envy. You think this is superficial. It isn't. It's a structural flaw, and it becomes your problem the moment you enter her orbit. She needs eyes on her to feel alive. Digital eyes, social eyes, male eyes. Attention is her oxygen, her currency, her mirror. Without it, she feels invisible. With it, she feels powerful. This is the woman who can't sit in silence, who can't disappear for a day, who can't enjoy something without showing it to the world. Every moment must be witnessed. Every outfit must be validated. Every emotion must be acknowledged. You notice the signs early, but they feel harmless. The constant posting, the selfies, the stories, the flirty replies disguised as friendly. The need to be seen by men she claims she doesn't care about. She tells you it means nothing. She calls it empowerment. She tells you, relax, it's just Instagram. But what she's really saying is this: my identity is crowdsourced, and I don't know how to live without applause. And here's the part men underestimate. A woman who depends on external validation will always create internal instability. Because you're not competing with other men. You're competing with the entire world's attention span. You can be loyal, supportive, consistent, emotionally present. It won't matter. Your approval hits her for a moment, then fades like any other notification. She needs a constant refill. So she keeps the door open to micro-attention. The lingering texts from that co-worker, the comments from strangers, the DMs she doesn't answer but never deletes, the old flames she forgot to block, the male orbiters she swears she's not interested in. This isn't cheating, it's maintenance. Maintenance of her ego. And here is the truth no one wants to admit. A woman addicted to validation is incapable of being fully present in a relationship, because her attention is always partially elsewhere. Your presence can never compete with the high of being desired by the world. Your peace can never survive the instability of a woman who needs strangers to confirm she exists. Your self-worth becomes tied to her fluctuating supply of attention, and you start doubting yourself every time her mood shifts. You wonder, did I do something wrong? Is she pulling away? Is she losing interest? Is there someone else? But the answer is simpler and worse. You're asking a woman who doesn't even belong to herself to belong to you. This is how the erosion begins, not with betrayal, but with distraction. Not with another man, but with every man. Not with infidelity, but with emotional scattering. She doesn't ruin you loudly. She ruins you by making you feel like you're never enough, like your presence is insufficient, like your love is just one option among many. This is the fourth sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. She chases the world's attention, and your heart becomes collateral damage. There is a moment, subtle, almost invisible, in cui capisci che non stai più interagendo con una donna, ma con una versione distorta di te stesso. Una versione manipolata, compressa, caricata di colpe che non ti appartengono. Una versione che lei riesce a piegare perché ha scoperto qualcosa che pochi uomini ammettono. The stronger you are, the easier you are to guilt. She doesn't attack your weaknesses, she attacks your virtues. If you're patient, she'll stretch your patience until it snaps. If you're loyal, she'll frame your loyalty as control. If you're ambitious, she'll call your drive selfishness. If you're emotionally stable, she'll tell you that you don't care enough, because you don't melt into her chaos. A woman who will ruin your peace understands this instinctively. The best way to disarm a good man is to make him feel like he's not good enough. At first it seems subtle. She questions your tone, your timing, your intentions. She implies you hurt her without meaning to. She hints that you're too distant, too distracted, too focused on your purpose. You begin defending yourself against accusations that sound emotional, not factual. You start explaining what you meant. You start overthinking every word. You start walking into every conversation already guilty. And here's the twisted part. A good man assumes responsibility even when he's not at fault. È la sua natura, è la sua maledizione. She notices this. She realizes she can shift the emotional weight onto you whenever she feels overwhelmed, insecure, or dissatisfied. Suddenly you're always not doing enough, even when you're doing everything. Your strength becomes the very thing she blames you for. Your care becomes the standard you're punished by. Your consistency becomes the rope she uses to pull you back whenever she feels herself slipping. You don't even notice how it happens. It's too gradual, too psychological, troppo sottile per essere visto finché non è tardi. You start apologizing for her reactions. You start taking responsibility for her moods. You start believing that her unhappiness is somehow your failure. Even when the truth is brutally simple, you're being punished for not being broken. A woman like this needs imbalance to feel secure. If you're grounded, she feels lost. If you're calm, she feels unseen. If you're confident, she feels threatened. Sei troppo stabile per il suo caos. Non puoi essere controllato attraverso il dramma, quindi verrai colpito attraverso la colpa. This is where the erosion of a man truly begins. Not with shouting, not with betrayal, but with those quiet conversations where you leave feeling smaller, confused, and slightly ashamed without knowing why. You begin shrinking to fit her comfort zone. You begin dimming your power to soothe her instability. You begin censoring your truth to avoid triggering another emotional earthquake. E poi succede il danno finale. You forget who you were before you met her. This is the fifth sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. She weaponizes your virtues until you can't tell the difference between love and guilt anymore. There is a kind of psychological damage that doesn't scream, doesn't hit, doesn't threaten. It whispers. It rearranges the furniture in your mind without making a sound. It makes you question whether your perception is accurate, whether your memory is reliable, whether your intuition is trustworthy. A woman who will ruin your peace doesn't destroy your life with one catastrophic betrayal. She destroys it by changing the way you interpret reality. It starts innocently. She tells you, you're overthinking. You're too sensitive. That never happened. You misunderstood. You're imagining things. You begin second-guessing your reactions, your instincts, your conclusions, even your emotional pain. Before you know it, you're apologizing for things you didn't do because she convinced you that your feelings are the problem, not her behavior. This is the subtle art of psychological distortion. She invalidates your concerns with charm. She dismisses your boundaries with softness. She manipulates your perception with a smile. She argues not to seek truth, but to make sure you feel wrong, even when you're right. Every disagreement becomes a maze where the exit keeps moving. Every conversation feels like quicksand. The more you try to clarify things, the deeper you sink into confusion. She shifts narratives mid-sentence. She rewrites events in real time. She contradicts her own contradictions. And when you catch it, when you point out the inconsistency, she turns the entire moment against you. She becomes emotional, hurt, offended. Suddenly you are the one attacking her. You're cold. You're dramatic. You're making things bigger than they are. This is how she wins, not by being right, but by making you doubt your ability to interpret reality. And when a man doubts his own perception, he becomes malleable, manipulable, controllable. You stop trusting your intuition. You stop calling out red flags. You stop drawing boundaries. You stop confronting lies. You stop defending yourself. Not because she's right, but because you're exhausted. Her goal isn't clarity. It's dominance over your mental landscape. Because if she can confuse your mind, she doesn't need to control your actions. You will control yourself in ways that benefit her. You will silence yourself. You will shrink your reactions. You will avoid speaking truth. You will keep the peace by sacrificing your own peace. And here's the darkest truth. When a woman rewrites your reality, she is no longer in a relationship with you. She is in a relationship with a version of you she created to suit her needs. A man who loses trust in his own perception loses his entire foundation. He becomes a stranger inside his own life. He questions himself more than he questions her. He becomes dependent on her emotional approval because his internal compass has been dismantled. This is the 6th sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. She makes you doubt what is real until her version of events becomes the only one that matters. A woman doesn't have to sabotage you directly to ruin your peace. Sometimes all she has to do is shift you, 1 inch at a time, away from the man you were before you met her. It starts so quietly you barely notice it. Your hobbies fade, your routines slip, your friendships weaken, your goals lose urgency, your center shifts from your own life to hers, and she doesn't even have to ask for it. You think you're being loving, supportive, committed. You tell yourself, this is what a relationship requires. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is displacement. Your identity is moving from, I am a man with a mission, to I am a man orbiting her emotional gravity. And the transition is smooth, disturbingly smooth. She becomes the reference point for everything. You time your day around her presence. You measure your mood by her reactions. You begin to interpret your worth based on the attention she gives you. Then the isolation begins, but not in obvious ways. She doesn't tell you to stop seeing friends. She just gets cold when you do. She doesn't say your goals don't matter. She just becomes distant when you work on them. She doesn't forbid your independence. She just subtly punishes it. With sighs, with silence, with emotional withdrawal, and you adjust until your world shrinks to whatever keeps the peace. This is how men lose themselves, not through control, but through emotional conditioning. You start cutting off pieces of yourself to avoid conflict, then more pieces, then entire parts of your personality. Your purpose becomes secondary. Your dreams become optional. Your discipline collapses. You turn from man to caretaker of her emotional climate. And here's the brutal irony. She won't respect the version of you that remains. Because once she has shaped you into someone who revolves around her, she will resent you for no longer being the man she admired at the beginning. The independent man becomes distant. The ambitious man becomes selfish. The disciplined man becomes controlling. The passionate man becomes obsessed. You lose either way, and the moment she senses that your world has shrunk to fit hers, she loses attraction. A woman cannot desire a man who has abandoned himself, and you wake up one day feeling hollow, confused, disconnected from your own life. You don't recognize your voice, your habits, your confidence, your desires. Your peace is gone, but you can't remember when it left, or if it was ever allowed in the relationship to begin with. This is the 7th sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. She slowly replaces your center with herself until you forget you ever had a life that belonged entirely to you. This is the final truth men learn only after the damage is done. Some women don't seek love, partnership, or connection. They seek influence. They want to feel something through you, not with you. And there is a very specific type of woman whose relationships all follow the same arc. She is enchanted by your strength, comforted by your stability, energized by your ambition, until she realizes she cannot control those things. Then the dynamic shifts. Because for some women, affection is not the goal. The goal is power dressed as romance. You'll see the signs when you look back, always in hindsight. She praised you early on because your potential excited her. She admired your discipline because it made her feel protected. She loved your confidence because it reflected well on her. But somewhere along the way, your independence became a threat. Your certainty became a challenge. Your boundaries became disrespect. Your self-respect became competition. She didn't want a man. She wanted a mirror that made her feel bigger, a source of emotional energy, a symbol of status, a proof of her desirability, a container for her insecurity. You stop being a partner and start being a pedestal she stands on. And the moment you no longer supply her with the feelings she wants, security, validation, attention, superiority, she withdraws affection like a punishment. This is the woman who becomes cold when you're confident, restless when you're calm, irritated when you're focused, and strangely antagonistic when you're doing well. She doesn't want to build with you. She wants to feed from you. A man like this becomes emotionally starved without knowing why. He keeps giving, hoping she will return to who she was in the beginning, but she won't. Because that early version of her wasn't real. It was bait. Once she has emotional leverage over you, once she senses you're invested, once she sees that you fear losing her more than she fears losing you, the power dynamic locks in. And here is the darkest truth you must hear without looking away. A woman who seeks power over connection will always destroy the man who offers love. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but inevitably. Because power requires imbalance, and imbalance is the death of a man's peace. When you serve a woman's ego instead of standing beside her, you lose your place in the relationship. You become a tool, a resource, a source of emotional fuel. The final collapse happens quietly. You stop expressing your needs. You stop setting boundaries. You stop dreaming loudly. You stop living for yourself. And she stops seeing you as a man at all. At that point, the relationship is already over. She just hasn't told you yet. This is the 8th and final sign she will ruin your peace before she ruins your life. She was never choosing you. She was choosing what she could extract from you.